Trying to teach, yes, that is it, incomplete. Trying to review for the test, but also get you ready for your quiz rewrite all at the same time. I'm trying to do both together. So you should be copying down, because a lot of these questions are the same kind of questions that were on the quiz, yeah? So, A, definitions. The first thing we're reviewing for the test is some definitions. Definition of a vertex. I didn't leave space for it, but I'm going to put it up there for you. I'll put a little arrow there. Can you fit it in there with a little arrow? And we need someone to give a short phrase to remind us what the vertex is of a parabola. It is in the middle. I like that. I don't, it's not quite enough. What's that? Middle point. It is the middle point. We're almost to it. There's a little more to it. Yeah, highest. Did you see that? You see my screen freaking out there? Highest or lowest point. Yes, it's in the middle. So I'm not saying that was wrong. I just wanted to get that highest or lowest out of there. That's the vertex. I hope that's not a big surprise. I hope that we talked about that during the word problems yesterday, so I hope that's not a big deal. X-intercepts and Y-intercepts actually came up in the previous chapter, so I hope those aren't too challenging either. X-intercept, where the graph meets the x-axis. Is that okay? We've been talking about that for a while, so I hope that's not mind-blowing. And then the y-intercept is...
Hello, teachers. Please excuse the interruption. The representative from Queen's University is here. Students that have previously signed up are asked to join us in the library. Again, that's the Queen's representative is here in the library, and students are asked to join us there. Thank you.
The y-intercept is where the graph meets the y-axis. And then the axis of symmetry is that middle line. I've often, I'm going to do a little trigger here, I've often put a dotted line to say there's that middle line. Do those words all ring a bell? Somewhat, all right. And direction of opening, well, there's two directions of opening. I'll draw two parabolas here. We could open up or we could open down. Those are the two possibilities. Scout, you didn't have the sheet. That's good, I've got extra ones right here. I stapled it with your review questions. So, here's some distribution. And I went from easiest to hardest. 4 examples of distribution in the next one. This was the distribution before we learned FOIL. When there's just one thing out front there, you just multiply it by each of the terms in the brackets. None of those were on the quiz. That was supposed to be like too easy for the quiz. I'm not saying that's easy, but the quiz I asked one like this one. So you quiz rewrite people, this is the one you want to talk about. I did teach FOIL, where you go x times x is x squared, x times 4 is 4x, negative 3 times x is negative 3x, and negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Some people added those on the quiz. We're doing multiplying all the way across there. And then you collect up the like terms in the center. Some people forgot to do that. They got the first step, which I was very happy. I put a whole bunch of check marks, and I put equals, and I put a slash saying, ooh, you forgot to do the last step. But that's not the way most people did it. Most people like the window method, which does the exact same stuff. And it was x minus 3 and x and 4. This actually went pretty well. Those of you who had a weak mark on the quiz, still many of you got this question, this distribution thing, where you go x times x is x squared, negative 3 times x is negative 3x, 4 times x is 4x, and then negative 12. And you can combine those up in one step and get the same thing I did over there, x squared plus x minus 12. But I paused for questions. I'm hoping once you see that, you're like, oh, wait. I did know how to do that. How did I? Maybe you got your quiz out beside you and you're looking at it going, oh, I can do that one. Silly. All right. And now I'm ready. I'm ready for that rewrite now, at least for that question. I know how to do that now. Or at least I knew how to do it, I just didn't know that was the time to do it. Yeah? But that's not the hardest version of that comes up. You can get one like this that says x plus 5 squared, and then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do there? But what does squared tell you to do? There's two of them. Yeah, there's an x plus 5 and an x plus 5. So if you see that, you're in the exact same spot we just were now, doing the distribution, which again, I'll show the boxes because that seemed to be popular. So if you're not getting this, if you really don't understand how to do the distribution here, then I'm going to do this one a little slower and encourage you that if you're having trouble with these, use the box method. Use this window method, we call it. So if it's x plus 5 times x plus 5, that's what I put on the sides of the boxes. x5, x5. X times x. What's x times x? X squared. X squared. Okay, so that's coming along nicely. The other ones are easier. 5 times x, you just write 5x. 5 times x, I just write 5x. And 5 times 5 is 25. I saw some people add those, where they added those two numbers together. But this is all multiplication we're doing here. And then I collect those up. I get x squared plus 10x plus 25. I've only combined that together because that's what I saw a lot of people do, is they didn't write 5x and 5x, they actually wrote 10x underneath. But you could write 5x plus 5x and then add them up later if you wanted. Okay? The reason those two can add together because they're both x's. This kind was in the homework, but not on the quiz. I didn't choose to put one like that on the quiz. And the way to handle this one is to not worry about the -1. Just do this part first, because that's a lot like the other questions. And I'll do that box method again. And then I'll act like I forgot, and then somebody remind me. As soon as I go to flip the page, you go, wait, you forgot something. Okay, so I'll act like I totally forgot about the -1, because that is a great way to do the question, is to just ignore it for a second and do x plus 6 and x minus 2. And I think this is almost identical to the quiz one, right? The quiz one was a positive and a negative, wasn't it? Am I right? Does anyone have the quiz in front of them? You've stuffed it away. I think that's a mistake if you stuffed it away. I think you should have it out now and be looking at it and going, well, what did it need to do? Oh, this is identical to the quiz one. This was the quiz question. X times x is x squared. 6 times x is 6x. -2 times x is -2x. And -2 times 6 is -12. Some people wrote 4 there because they added those together. So the answer here is x squared plus 4x minus 12. That was the answer in the quiz. But this one's got a -1 up. Oh, I intended to forget. And then I forgot I was supposed to forget. You could just change all the signs. Some people might not. They might put a -1 there and go, okay, I've still got to multiply it by -1. But you're right. All that happens is it becomes -x squared minus 4x plus 12. It just changes the sign of everything. So it's much easier to handle that -1 afterwards. Any questions about expanding? Do you feel more confident about that, at least, if you're going to do a quiz rewrite? If you didn't get that one? No, I try to make eye contact. Actually, it's a teacher's college thing. My professor in teacher's college 24 years ago said, make as eye contact with as many people as you can as you're teaching. So sometimes you might think I'm talking to you directly, but no, I'm just trying to keep everybody involved. It's actually not a behavior thing. It's a keep them paying attention thing. Yeah, because so don't think I'm singling you out necessarily. Not that I don't sometimes, but sometimes. Questions about expanding? More time for expanding? If this goes a little fast, yeah, keep going. But if this goes a little fast, don't forget, I'm videoing it. So you can sit there tonight, you can look it over. You're like, in my evening? Look at your math videos and do math work? Yes. This is the way to doing better, is to use a little bit of your time in the evening. I'm not asking for a lot of time. What's that? You're making cookies. That's no problem. Is that what you said, you're making cookies? Yeah. So you stir them up. Put them on the thing. In the oven. What is it, about 22 minutes? 15. Watch the video. Pull them out. Put the new round on. Watch the video. Get those ones off. Yeah. Do two things at once. I do it all the time. I'm the cat in the hat at home. I'm making dinner, marking your quizzes, yelling at this kid, playing Uno with this kid. No problem. That's right. I just reached back and kicked a kid there. Okay. More time here? We get caught up there? Is it good? Common factoring. Oh, friends. This is supposed to be the easiest factoring. And it did not go well. All common factoring is. Here, write this on your review. Look for factors that are common. Look for things that divide into all of them. We're looking for a number that divides into 6, 9, and 3. If you're really bad at this, start with the smallest number and see if that's the one. See if 3 divides into all these. Does 3 divide into 6? Yeah. Does 3 divide into 9? Does 3 divide into 3? Well, 3 divides into 3. That was still before. So put the 3 out front. And after you put the 3 out front, take each term and divide it by the 3 that you pulled out. So 2x to the power 2? I hope that most of you are reacting like, oh. See, now that was easy, and I didn't know what it was asking. Yeah. So a little bit of studying between batches of cookies tonight would be really helpful to go, oh, common factoring, that's the one where I'm looking for what goes out front. It's the easiest one. It's the easiest factoring. Great question. I'll answer it right at the end of the review here, okay? We have options about when you would rewrite the quiz. There's some options, yeah? So you can pick the best option for you. It does get a little bit harder when there's x's involved, but only this much harder. What number divides into 12 and 18? You could do 2 or 3. 6. If both 2 and 3 go, then 6 definitely goes. But something else can come out of both of these. All these terms have x this time, so you can pull x out as well. That's slightly harder than what was on your quiz, is to pull an x out as well. I chose not to put one like that on the quiz. You have to ask yourself, though, whether that means it's going to be on the test. What's left of 12x squared? 2x. And what's left of 18x? 3. You just divide those out to find what's in the remaining terms. What's that? No, the x is factored out of each of those. Yeah? Now, listen, friends. I'm not trying to be that guy, but let's say you're like, but I don't remember common factoring at all. I'm not very good at it. What would you do next? He said into his microphone that he was wearing during class today. What would you do next if you're like, I really just don't know how to common factor? What could I do?
Just multiply 6 by 2.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about the logistics of it. Let's say you go home tonight, and you're busy making cookies, and you're like, I wish there was, if only there was a video somewhere.
Look at the video.
Yeah, right there on the D2L website is me teaching common factoring. You can go back, listen to yourself, listen to me yelling at you, all that kind of stuff, right? Use my time in the evening for math? Only if you want to do better.
The test is tomorrow.
No, the test is not tomorrow.
When is it?
I have it tentatively scheduled for Friday.
Friday?
Yeah, because I was worried about leaving the weekend in between. But we can discuss it. All right. Factoring trinomials. This went better than common factoring, which should not have happened. Usually trinomials is the tough part, but we must have worked very hard on this together because a lot of people got at least started. They maybe couldn't finish it, but they got at least started. Here's what you got to do. When it's a trinomial, look for numbers that add to the last, or sorry, multiply to the last number and add to the middle number. I saw a lot of people write this. Even people who didn't answer the question wrote multiply and add there. They at least had the trigger. Now they had to find two things that multiplied to 16, but added to 8. He says 4 and 4. So the multiplication tables come easy for him. If they don't, you flip over your sheet, and you look down and you look for a 16 out there, and look for what adds to 8. I'll write it over here for you. When you look out at the multiplication table, you'll find 1 times 16 multiplies to 16. It'll be out there on the multiplication table. You'll find 2 times 8 does. And you'll find 4 times 4 does. There's a lot of different 16s out there. Which of these pairs, though, adds to 8? 4 and 4 adds to 8. So the way this factors is x plus 4 in the first brackets and x plus 4 in the second brackets. Most people got started on this, but maybe couldn't track down the numbers. Got to get a little bit better at tracking down those numbers. Notice the numbers aren't that big. I didn't choose 168 and 28. Like I chose numbers that are good. I know they are. That's why I'm coming over to listen, because maybe I just want to say one thing. Here, watch this. Look at the 16s on here. We look and then there's a 16. But 8 and 2 is not 8. So I look for another 16. Look at this 16.
That's a different question.
4 and 4. Oh, which one are you doing?
She's looking at the one on the quiz.
Oh, so the quiz was 24, right?
Yeah.
So let's look for 24. So there's a 24, but 12 and 2 doesn't make 3. 24, 8 and 3.
It's 5.
Yeah, okay, it's 5. So there's the 8 and the 3. That does it. 8 and 3.
But where? There's no 5 there. That's equal to.
Oh, yeah. 8 minus 3.
Okay.
Yeah? Once there's a negative involved, you can make one of them negative. Here, watch this one. Okay, let's do this one together, because this is a lot like the quiz one. Two things that multiply to 8. Hold on. Let me write them down for people who are still having trouble finding these numbers. Look, here's what. If you look at the chart, you'll find 1 and 8 multiply to 8. 2 and 4 multiply to 8, and that's all the things that multiply to 8. Our job is to make the negatives work out. So one of these numbers has got to be negative to multiply to negative 8. No way 1 and 8 can add or subtract to give negative 2, but 2 and 4 can, if I put the negative in the right spot. So it's either, I'll write them both. It's either negative 2 and positive 4, or 2 and negative 4. Those multiply to negative 8. Which of these pairs adds to negative 2, though? 2 and negative 4. So it does take a minute of thinking. It's not like easy. But you just have to stare at the numbers long enough to go, oh, this way around. And it feels like, shouldn't I just know? No. You just have to look at them and go, what about this way? No. What about that way? Right? Okay. Somebody very clever did something awesome on the quiz. Several people did, actually. After they had this, they did the expansion to make sure it worked. Very clever. They went back and did window and said, and they double checked that it was right. That'll help you if you go, let me just check this. Let's use expansion to check this out and see if it works. Great questions, and some great moving forward on maybe rewriting this quiz and having a good quiz. Can you write the test before you write the quiz?
That's what you said. Unless they write it tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. When are we going to rewrite this quiz? We'll talk about that as soon as I finish this. Shh. Jackson? Oh, I thought you already went. I sneered at you because I didn't want to start a parade of people missing my lesson. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I missed it. I thought you went. More time there? What's that? It's right there. Oh, they're just saying in theory this is what it's going to look like. Yeah, they weren't trying to answer a specific question. Did it go right in? Oh, that's good. More time? This is just like the quiz. There's one in the quiz where you had to do common factor, then trinomial. Folks, I'm not talking over you in your review. This is your test. So, first, common factor. What number divides into 2, into 30, and into 88? 2. So I pull 2 out front, and I divide all those terms by 2. I get x squared plus 15x plus 44. Now, 44. If you're having trouble with these, flip your paper over. Get your multiplication table out. Go find 44. Find 44? Where's 44?
You do that.
Yeah, you try. Where's 44? 11 and 4. Do 11 and 4 add to 15? Yeah. Sometimes it just works out, right? Sometimes. X plus 4, x plus 11. Adam. I thought you had your hand up.
Yeah, I did. I was just going to ask my
Yeah. Let's do another one, because this was very poorly done. Yeah. Yeah. What's the number that divides into 3, 18, and 15? 2 does not divide. 1 does, but not help. 3. Yeah. Then divide them all by 3. Shh. Now. Shh. Daniel. Shh. Don't finish when I say shh. Don't be like, oh, I'll just finish what I'm saying, then it's okay. No, that's not the way this works at all. Now, 2 numbers that multiply to 5 and add to 6. I know some people, these numbers are coming very quickly, but if they're not, you look through the multiplication table and try and find 2 things that multiply to 5. So you look for 5 out there somewhere. Find 5. 1 and 5. Does 1 and 5 add to 6? Oh, that's the pair. So sometimes it's easy. 1 and 5 multiplies to 5, and 1 and 5 adds to 6. That's a lot of the quiz right there. We've covered a lot of the quiz right there. You can easily, if you know that stuff, you shouldn't have any trouble getting 13, 14 out of 18, something like that. If you're really trying to perfect the quiz, the last one says find the 0, so then you need the x values of -1 and -5 to find the zeros. You need to go one more step with that. Yep. Okay, last one, right? I got one more to go in today's review.
Yep.
Factoring difference of squares. Try to common factor first, and then look to see if there's things squared in there. This first one, 49x squared and 36. Okay, listen, because you have your multiplication table, finding squares is pretty easy. I'm going to bring a multiplication table up and show you where the squares are. They're easy to find. Just give me a second. I'll bring up your multiplication table. That is fabulous. Which multiplication table did I give you?
This one. Multiplication chart.
Multiplication chart.
It was like 10 minutes after that happened. You ran down the hill twice and then started.
Okay, here's the squares. Just so you know how to use multiplication, we'll find the squares. They're along the diagonal. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. You can find them right along there. What are the two numbers in my question? Yeah, the first one's 49, right? And what's the other one?
Negative 36.
Where's 36? That's 6 and 6. And you can just get them right off the table there. So this is 7x plus 6, 7x minus 6. The one I did in the test or the quiz wasn't that hard. How about 25? What multiplies by itself to give 25? 5. And what about 81? 9, so it's 5x plus 9 and 5x minus 9. And difference of squares is like this. People either get 100, they get difference of squares exactly right every time because they know what they're looking for, or they get 0 because they don't even know what it's asking. But sometimes there's a common factor first. Look at this. This is a common factor. Then you can do difference of squares. I'll show you that one, and then we'll do the other one together. What common factor is there between 16 and 100? What divides into both 16 and 100? 4. Go as big as you can. The bigger the number, the better. Now, what multiplies by itself to give 4? Oops. 2. And what multiplies by itself to give 25? 5. So then you've got your two brackets. That's the first half of the review.